The Republican Civil War has begun, except it's been ongoing for a really long time. This is a silly narrative coming out of the mainstream media. The Republican Civil War starts now. Donald Trump started the Republican Civil War in 2015 when he decided to run, and then 2016 when he won, and then the end of 2016 when he won the actual presidency. The establishment lost its mind. Several prominent Republicans switched parties. They created organizations where they claim to be Republicans, but now they just keep going after Republicans. Why? The Republican Civil War doesn't start now. It's been going on for 7 years. That's what the media keeps saying. What's actually happening right now is a tacit admission that Donald Trump won that civil war, that the party is now the MAGA party. And the real civil war they're bringing up is, after the establishment was chased out, Donald Trump dominated the party. A young upstart by the name of Ron DeSantis has entered the fray and is seeking to challenge the king himself. I have no problem with saying Donald Trump should pass the torch down to Ron DeSantis, but I am not convinced. I'm leaning towards DeSantis right now, but Milo Yiannopoulos appeared on Timcast IRL, perhaps at the most perfect of times, to explain why Donald Trump is the right guy, to even admit he's not coming out like the alpha daddy he should be. It's what Milo said, not my quote, and that he needs to get his mojo back. But there's really interesting points to be made why Donald Trump is still the guy. Now, I'm seeing a lot of prominent conservatives saying, no, Ron DeSantis, he's got a clear message. He's got real leadership. And I am a huge fan of Ron DeSantis. I think he does it so much better than Donald Trump. But there are still a lot of arguments to be made about Donald Trump's charisma and ability to rally. There are pros and there are cons. There are challenges. Is Donald Trump the guy who's going to rally the Democrats? He may actually be. But of course, the media is just trying to claim it's the MAGA party all the way. They ran on January 6th. They ran on MAGA. It's their whole shtick. And Donald Trump actually had tremendous success in the midterms. This is very weird. The Democrats are saying that they're acting like they won, mocking Republicans, despite the fact that Republicans actually won across the board. And we may actually see them take the Senate. If Masters wins in Arizona and Kerry Lake may actually end up being the governor, it's looking really good for both of them. Well, less so for Masters, but there's a strong possibility he does get this. What were we supposed to expect out of all of this? 260 seats? Those were the long shots. I mentioned it was a 1 in 50 chance. The scenario is being presented by 538 that Republicans actually got 55 or 56 seats in the Senate. It was always going to be that they'd get one or maybe none. We saw some polling recently, and I've had people say, maybe the polling's right, Tim. Maybe the elections are. What's the problem? I'll tell you what's the problem. Procedure. And one of the things that greatly benefited Ron DeSantis in Florida was that he made sure the voting systems were secure and the procedure was proper. He fortified his elections. Oh, they love that, don't they? Donald Trump had no ability to do this across the country. And where we see a lot of problems like Arizona, it's undetermined. The problem is we need to fix this system. But everyone in this country knows. As Joe Biden said, it's not it's not how many votes you get, it's who counts the votes. Is that what he said? He said something like that. It's funny. Reminiscent of Stalin himself. The question now becomes, who can actually win, DeSantis or Trump? DeSantis may have won in Florida. It doesn't mean he can carry the rest of the country, but he did earn the vote of a lot of Latinos, but they're Florida Latinos. It's hard to know. I think Trump still got a lot going for him. So let's break down exactly what they're claiming and why everybody is saying, and a lot of people are saying Ron DeSantis. Before we get started, today is the day, my friends. It's the last day for you guys to support our song, Genocide, Losing My Mind by Timcast. Go to losingmymind.com. Whatever music service you use, if you enjoy this kind of music and you would like, I would appreciate it if you would put that song on your playlist and just blast that playlist, play that music, listen to it if you like it. I don't want, and you can buy the song. It's the most powerful thing you can do. We want to make good music. We want to make cultural content that challenges the machine and also is just good content. The song, I think we're getting a tremendous response to it, more likes than the previous song. We think we're going to hit Billboard. I would love it. And I think it would be really great if on the Billboard Hot 100, big ask, I know, a song mocking the media and the establishment was up there getting written about. These journalists and these leftists are recoiling in horror that we're producing cultural content. And they're trying to act like they don't like it, despite the fact, you'll love this. When Hassan reviewed my song, Will of the People, his audience, they were like, oh no, I like this song. Oh no, that was Tim Pool. That's right. We produce content. They know it's good and they panic because of it. Support our work. Buy the song Genocide on iTunes. You guys helped us hit trending on YouTube, and I really appreciate it. Today's the last day, so make your move if you want to help us out. And listen to it on YouTube. That really helps as well. Newsweek writes, the Republican Civil War starts now. Oh, smash the like button to this video, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends. They say, following the GOP's poor showing in the midterms, the future of the party looks set to be decided on who will come out on top in the reignited rivalry between Donald Trump and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Let's pause right there and start breaking it all down. The poor showing? Republicans showed up in massive numbers. It was huge voter turnout. But I keep hearing this, that the youth vote turned out in large numbers in the last election and this election. I warned you guys. See, people are going around screaming fraud. Fraud is the wrong thing to scream. Look, I have no problem with people questioning whether or not people are engaged in illicit activities pertaining to the election. I think it's good that people want to stop any perceived wrongdoing. But the problem we have here in the United States is that the Democrats seek to dismantle voter integrity. It's not about fraud. It's about what are the rules by which we are all playing. Democrats are changing them to make the whole system worse. And it's resulting in bad policy. It's resulting in bad leadership. I think that across the board. They're saying now that the GOP had a poor showing, but here's the reality. Trump tears into the fake news for writing unrecognizable junk and almost all of his endorsements won as Republicans blame him for Tuesday's disappointing election. Yeah. Hold on there a minute. Civil war, Trump doing poorly? Trump didn't do poorly. Republicans didn't fail. A lot of people are saying that Republicans should have done better. Sure, they could have done better. But take a look at this from the election results. Last updated 12:24 p.m. Eastern time, Republicans flipped 16 seats in the House, and the Democrats flipped 4. Republicans, let's take a look at the Senate. Right now, Nevada is about to flip. It looks like Nevada will flip. Don't know for sure. The later votes could be mail-in votes. They could be in-person votes. We will see. But Adam Laxalt seems to be in the lead by almost 2 points. 84% reporting. We will see. If Nevada, they're saying a bunch of late mail-in votes are coming in by the end of the week. So, okay, we'll see. But if Nevada goes Republican, that's a flip. Arizona is leaning Mark Kelly, but it always was. Masters is overperforming. 76% reporting he may actually win. The last votes that are coming in, it's 275,000 ballots, and they're expected to lean Republican. Some will lean Democrat, but they're expecting this will overwhelmingly favor Republicans. He needs just about 100K of those 275,000 votes. Now, that's tough. He's not just going to need 100,000, because if the 275,000 come in and 175 go to Mark Kelly, then he's real down. He's going to actually need to win the overwhelming majority of those ballots to the tune of about 200K. I don't know if that's possible. But for governor, Kari Lake may actually take this one. It's looking pretty good for Kari Lake. She's down only 13,000 with 76% reporting. But let's talk about Trump's performance. The media keeps running on this line that Trump failed. Trump didn't fail. I don't get it. Trump didn't drag the party. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. The news is in. Lauren Boebert is in the lead right now. They're all bragging and screaming Lauren Boebert's going to lose. Fresh update. Boebert is now in the lead by several hundred votes. She's now up 0.2%. It's a close race, don't get me wrong. But they were like, Boebert's going to lose. They're all gloating. They're losing. Take a look at this in New York. This is amazing to me. Look at all of these in New York and New Jersey. In the New York Metro, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 districts flipped from Democrat to Republican. Look at this. New Jersey's 7th district went Republican. We've got Long Island flip. The 3rd district, And the 4th district, New York's 19th, New York's 17th district flipped to the Republican Party. How is that a bad showing for Donald Trump? What did they expect? Because at the very end, all of these polls came out saying people really wanted Republicans to win. I think Donald Trump actually did a pretty good job. Trump is, let me see if we have the numbers here. Trump talks about how many people he endorsed. Let me see if 219 wins and 16 losses. I'm pretty sure those numbers are better than Trump's ever had in terms of his endorsements. Why are they claiming Trump failed? I'll tell you what I think. They hate the man. They hate him. Now, I got to be honest. I am so bored with Donald Trump going 2020. Dude, I get it. I don't care. He put out this really awful tweet. I tweeted, that's it. Trump's over. And the reason I put that is because DeSantis wins in Florida. This is amazing. DeSantis flipped urban centers. It was insane. I think DeSantis is a great path forward for 2024. But like the idea that means Trump lost is just nuts. Look at this. Arizona, 2nd district flipped Republican. It's crazy. And now it's looking like Arizona 6 is going to go Republican as well. We've got, check this out. Maryland's 6th district is about to flip. David Trone is losing. I just happened to, here we go. Take a look at this one. Virginia's 2nd flipped. Iowa, Wisconsin. Look at this, a flip district. Texas 15th. That's crazy. Florida, several districts flipped. I think Donald Trump's endorsements did pretty well. Now, you want to know why the Democrats overperformed more so than people realized? First, I'll start by saying they didn't. This is the crazy thing to me. 538 had consistently tracked the data. And up until last month, this is what they said was going to happen. Now, perhaps you can argue we all thought the polls were going to be wrong, so Republicans would do better. But in the last few weeks, the polls started inverting and Republicans started taking off. But early voting was already underway. Which brings me to the main point. It ain't Trump. It ain't DeSantis. It's universal mail-in voting and early voting. Sunny Hostin, on The View, admitted to committing voter fraud. That's a fact. I'm not saying she did commit voter fraud. She said she voted for her son. You're not allowed to do that. Now, there was an immediate rush to defend what she said and excuse what she said. No. She actually meant to say that she was delivering his absentee ballot, which is legal. Absolutely it is. Absolutely it is. But she didn't say that. She said she voted for him and that her son called her to make sure that she delivered the ballot on time. If her son wasn't in New York and there's an absentee ballot going in, who filled it out? None of the story makes sense. Let me tell you what I think happens. I've said it a million times, and I'll say it again. You want to know why Democrats are overperforming? They're tweeting out right now how the youth vote finally turned out. Democrats knew low information voters vote Democrat. They know younger voters tend to be lower information voters. That's just reality. I'm not trying to be mean to young people, but they tend to be lower information voters. So the Democrats said, how can we get their votes? Universal mail-in voting. Send the ballot right to their house. Now, their steel man argument is they come out and say, we want everyone to vote. We want to make it easier so that everyone's voice is heard. But that means people who kind of don't care to vote won't make the effort to vote, and they'll end up voting, and it skews the system rather negatively. Mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters, ideologues in the Democratic Party are now able to go to the House, where all these votes come in, universal voting, and they can then say, hey, your ballot came in, let's fill it out. And it's not fraud. They just say, fill it out, and then I'll bring it in for you. That may be what happened with Sunny Hostin. Someone who didn't actually want to go vote had someone do it for him. Let me stress that for you. It is legal to do. I personally don't like the idea that people who don't want to go vote have someone go and deliver their ballots for them. I think there should be some effort in engaging in civic responsibility that you should say, I really want to do this. I don't like the idea that somebody's like, I'm leaving. I don't care. If you want, you can send it in. Because they really don't care. Then you're getting not just low information voters, but low enthusiasm voters. And you're getting parents, you're getting advocates. It's making it very, very easy for urban centers to flood the votes. Republicans, you will never win again if that's the case. So as they scream DeSantis versus Trump, that ain't the issue. The issue is that in New York City, 2 Democrat volunteers can go door to door and reach 1,000 doors in one day. You knock on a door. Hi, we're out here making sure that people have voted. We're nonpartisan. That's your ballot right there. Did you receive it? Excellent. You should definitely fill it out. Put it in your mailbox. We'll wait. Some people will say yes. Some people will say no. But at the very least, somebody who normally wouldn't have done it now will, and Democrats gain from that. They then walk 10 feet to the next door. How about this? They don't even walk any feet at all. They simply turn around to the door behind the other apartment, knock on the door, and say the same thing. If Republicans want to do that in Wyoming, if Republicans want to do that in Kansas or Oklahoma or Iowa, you've got to drive. Then my nearest neighbor, it's probably a block or two. Walk. I probably would hop on the electric bike and ride down, and it would take about a minute or two to get there. Whereas in a city like New York, you can go in a building and knock on a door. Did you vote? Knock on a door. How about this? You knock on a door, nobody answers. You turn around, knock on a door, boom, somebody answers. Universal mail-in voting disproportionately favors dense populated areas, which tend to be Democrat. I think this is a net negative for the entirety of the system. Having people who don't care to vote is bad. Now, the Democrats say things like, but Republicans are minorities and minority rule is bad and all that stuff. We are not a democracy. Having random people vote when they don't care to vote, I think, is a problem. So the solution to me is no universal mail-in voting. I don't mind absentee when it matters, like it's difficult for them to get up and go, but they have to request it. They have to request it individually every time, and they have to sign off the security ballot and sign off on a designated individual. Now, that means in many cities, people can go to nursing homes and say, I will be your designated individual. If you would like to sign for me, I will take your ballots for you. I have no problem with that. I have a slight problem with it when it's exploited. But elderly people who want to vote should have the right to vote, and their inability to go and vote shouldn't restrict them. If they so choose and personally fill out the forms to request the absentee ballot and are not being coerced. So we can sit here and talk about Trump versus DeSantis all day and night, but that's not the issue, is it? Take a look at this tweet from James Woods. Lesson number 1, straightforward bedrock messages win elections. We have embraced, quote, we have embraced freedom. We have maintained law and order. We have protected the rights of parents. We have respected our taxpayers. We will never, ever surrender to the woke mob. Florida is where woke goes to die. And then he chose a picture of a young Ron DeSantis. I think Trump called DeSantis fat or something. I don't know. Maybe he did, but Trump's also obese. So come on. I'm a big Ron DeSantis fan. For a lot of reasons, I would rather have Ron DeSantis than Donald Trump. Now, let's talk about this. I think the core issue is, of course, absolutely the change in the election system. That's it. Florida has mail-in voting and absentee voting and early voting as well. But Ron DeSantis was made sure to clean things up. Now, I'll tell you why. I think DeSantis may be the right guy for the job, but I'm not counting out Trump. And I'll tell you why I think it may be Trump too, but let me say this. Last night, we had on the show Milo Yiannopoulos. Milo, you're an incredibly intelligent individual, and your charisma is off the charts. His ability to articulate thoughts and ideas are astounding. And sitting with Milo and hearing him talk about these issues makes me really understand why he became so popular and prominent during the Trump era. That being said, he said, the only people who push DeSantis are being paid to do it. Ain't nobody paying me to promote Ron DeSantis. I didn't want to get into an argument with Milo. It's been a long time since he's spoken publicly or done an interview. I thought, we'll let the man speak. And he talked for 2 hours. He just went at it. Some people are like, wow, Tim is so somber and so quiet. That's just amazing. And my thought process there is, y'all have heard what I have to say a million times. You haven't heard from Milo in a long time, and he's making some really interesting points. Let the man speak. And I gotta be honest, when I have guests who like to talk, we let him talk. But Milo made really great points, and I was interested in hearing a perspective I had not heard in a while. Now, his opinion on Ron DeSantis, I think, is incorrect. He says Ron DeSantis has no charisma. Are you kidding? He may not have the charisma of Trump. I'll concede that. But him coming out with this speech, we've embraced freedom, maintained law and order. Yeah, actually really good. Some have pointed out he's just not tall enough. He's not tall enough because presidents tend to be tall. Okay. I mean, that's true. Let me tell you the case for both Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis. I lean towards DeSantis. Now I'll tell you why. He led in Florida in a way that was more tactful than Donald Trump. He went after his enemies. He criticized them. He presented a sort of emotional gain in that we got to see him tell people like this is where Florida is where woke goes to die is a great example of this. But he was not lewd or crass. He didn't mock people who were physically assaulted like the journalist that Donald Trump did. Some people like that. I'll get into that. Ron DeSantis went after core policies like critical race theory, favoring things like school choice, keeping the state open or making sure it reopened quickly when the COVID pandemic happened, resisting the excesses of the federal government, and creating what is effectively a safe haven for liberty-minded individuals. He showed that he will push back on socialist woke policies, critical race theory, exploitation of children, and those are huge. He showed he will protect the economy, making sure that businesses were able to operate during the lockdowns when other states weren't allowing it. That's strong leadership. Plus, military experience, absolutely love it. Not to mention his secret weapon. Do we have this one here? The secret weapon of Trump's GOP nemesis DeSantis is his ex-TV anchor wife, Casey. We've long heard about the amazing intelligence and tact of his wife, Casey, who understands the culture war issues and is described as the emotional tuning fork. I absolutely think I read a bit. I'm not going to act like, all these articles are true and correct or whatever. But I think that DeSantis' wife does play a powerful role. For Donald Trump, Melania's great. I don't think she's the same. You have some bad advice that Donald Trump took from Jared Kushner. However, Kushner did lead the charge in the Abraham Accords, which is peace in the Middle East. I very much respect that. Let me tell you the case for Donald Trump. He did not fail. That's a lie. Let that be said. To all the people who are going out saying Trump was a drag on the party, I do not believe that. I don't believe it. I do think Trump is petty. I think he's got an ego, and he drives me nuts sometimes. But you take a look at the seats that flipped, and they're trying to make it seem like because Democrats did so well, did better than expected, that means Trump is the reason for it. No, I think universal mail-in voting is the reason for it, and it's going to stay that way no matter who's running. I do think Trump, in many ways, is a negative, okay? I don't want to act like I'm saying he didn't drag at all. I wonder if DeSantis could have led better. My fear is that Trump does rally people. They did campaign on MAGA. They did campaign on opposing Trump and Trump's candidates. The Democrats did put a bunch of money into MAGA candidates who ended up losing. Fair point. Fair point. I don't think that's everything. Notably, the governor race in Maryland was a flip. Dan Cox lost handily. But come on, man. Maryland? It's a blue stronghold. I'm not surprised that happened. Sure, I guess you want a moderate Republican governor who may as well be a Democrat? Spare me. I'm not interested. Here's what I see. Donald Trump made some bad choices like Oz. I can respect that. He dragged in Pennsylvania. He should have endorsed Kathy Barnett, but he didn't. And some say it's because she criticized him in the past. It was a huge mistake. She is brilliant. And Oz was sad and boring. And there you go. I think Barnett was the right choice. Let me tell you what I see happening. I see the establishment Republican Party dragging candidates in New Hampshire and Arizona and other places and then trying to blame Trump for it. You ain't going to pull that one off on me. I am not the biggest Trump supporter. I think Ron DeSantis is better, but I'm not playing those silly games. Now, look, my opinion may have shifted a bit because I've been tracking all of this data and hearing the arguments. I certainly understand the points being made by people like Mike Cernovich, why there's an opportunity now to hand the torch over to Ron DeSantis. But I'm not entirely convinced DeSantis can do what Trump did. Some people have pointed out that the establishment is lining up behind Ron DeSantis. Certainly Milo said it. All the wrong people are supporting him. Ken Griffin, for instance. Citadel, big money. And I'm like, okay, hold on there a minute. What has Ron DeSantis done? I don't care about who's giving him money. I care about what he does. Marco Rubio won. And he was questioned because they were like, the NRA is giving you money. And Rubio, I think it was Rubio. I could be wrong, but I think it was Rubio. May have been Ted Cruz as well. He was like, they're not giving me money to make me do things. They're giving me money because of the things I do. Because he is good on gun control. He's not controlled by them. Ron DeSantis did not have this wind at his back until he proved that he was doing things we like. We like what Ron DeSantis is doing. I think Trump still works. I think Trump's brand is still a net positive in a lot of ways. But I think the system, the procedure and policy, universal mail-in voting specifically, is rigged against high information and rural voters. Fact. That doesn't matter if it's Ron DeSantis or Trump. And I'll give you my thoughts on the whole thing. They'll lie all day and claim Trump can't do it, but I do think Ron DeSantis would be better. Absolutely. Maybe he's not tall enough. I don't know. Ron, start working out, get ripped, and then wear those. What are those shoes that have the insoles that make you taller? There you go. Do that. Or stand on your tippy toes. Ron DeSantis is more tactful than Trump. A lot of people like the revenge, but I don't think moderates do. There's something to be said about Donald Trump winning 74 some odd million votes, more votes than any other incumbent in history. And there's something to be said about Joe Biden getting 80 or whatever million. I think the Republicans, the MAGA guys, the MAGA people, they don't believe Biden could have got those votes. It frustrates me a little bit because I hear these narratives from all these people who are like, they pulled suitcases out and counted those ballots. And I'm like, okay, calm down. Watch the full surveillance video and you'll actually watch them collect ballots from people, put them in the cases, and then push them under a table to be counted later. That's it. A lot of people want to believe the worst of the worst. I certainly think there is untoward behavior and illicit activity during elections. But I do believe that Joe Biden got these votes. And people are like, you think people actually... It's Steve Bannon. He's like, you really believe that Joe Biden got 80 million? I'm like, yes. He's like... And I'm like, dude, let me explain to you. When mom has 3 kids, a suburban housewife who really hates Trump. Come on, you know these women don't like Trump, right? They like Trudeau. He's a hunk. Don't tell me you think the women who are voting for the hunk are going to vote for Donald Trump. The grab by the hoo-hoo stuff, that's off-putting. These suburban women want to feel good. They want that emotional, victory. They got 3 kids, right? 2 or 3 kids. They walk into the kitchen and say, kids, you are voting. You are voting now. I don't want to hear it. Here's your ballots. Fill them out. And they go, okay, who am I voting for? Vote Democrat. That's how Joe Biden did it. Because mom went to her kids, because Democrats made sure it was so mind-numbingly easy that low information voters, the young vote, voted. And they did. It was huge turnout. You're not going to convince me that a bunch of young people went outside waving flags and said, we're finally going to go vote. Some did, because politics is pop culture. And it's all over the place, all over TikTok and everywhere else. And the place where young people are, they ban us. Timcast IRL is banned from TikTok for no reason. They don't want our ideas on the platform. So that does influence young people. If they can get clicks and likes by fitting in, they will, despite having the proper information. So did Joe Biden get the votes he needed? You betcha. He got it because people went door to door and got low information voters to vote. Because they changed the way the vote was done, not because they fabricated the vote. And that's the problem. While the Democrats are over here redrawing the rules, the Republicans are over here looking at state level gerrymandering and things like that. They play their game too. The Democrats the Trump supporters are convinced that it was overt fraud. If you want to say that a parent voting for their child is fraud, you would be correct. But a parent asking their child to vote is not fraud. And that's where these votes come from. If you don't recognize that, you'll lose. Now, of course, we have 2,000 mules. We have Dinesh D'Souza talking about people who are collecting ballots for other people. My friends, that's legal in 39 states. In some states, it's not legal. I get it. But if in most of the country you are allowed to be a designated individual and do this, we're not talking about fraud. You're talking about a policy and a procedure you don't like. That someone can go to a nursing home and say to 100 people, everyone who wants their vote counted, please designate me your individual to deliver this for you. And in some places, that's actually legal. In some places, it's not. In 2020, what did we see? Executives of certain states changed the rules without the legislature. Texas sued over this. There were policies like the Pennsylvania Constitution says absentee ballots can only be for certain reasons, but they created universal mail-in voting. All of these are big issues. I get it. That's why we need policy changes, election reform, and I believe there must be a minimal hurdle for people. The Civil War, they say, is here, but they're wrong. The Civil War has always been here. The war now is between MAGA forces. The establishment is starting to line up behind Ron DeSantis, I think, for one reason. He wins. He wins bigly. I think Ron DeSantis actually could, let's put it realistically. He's not the kind of guy that's going to get a bunch of suburban women to be all hot and bothered and vote for him. But Trump is the inverse of that. Trump is the guy who comes out and he speaks crudely, and a lot of women say, I don't want that. They go, oh, well, I never. And you know what? You want to say that shouldn't matter or women shouldn't. That's reality. Milo Yiannopoulos comes on the show and says women shouldn't vote. And I'm like, well, they do. They do. And they like charismatic, charming men. Not all of them, but enough of them, right? If Trump loses votes for being this crude guy, recognize that. Milo didn't like that we said, we asked him not to insult people. And he goes, I can't use invective against individuals. I don't know any other way to talk. And we talked about it in the after show. It's very interesting. Watch the members only show on timcast.com. I basically said, look, I respect the strategy you took. I said, I view you as sort of frontline infantry, whereas we're more espionage. And he took offense to that. And I was like, no, I thought that was a compliment. Milo went out on the front lines, overtly and explicitly saying what he felt and what people felt. He got banned for it. We avoid the banning, remain comfortable and well off while he gets thrown in as fodder. No, I respect the frontline infantry and the risks they take. We try to we don't want to insult people because the way I see it is Milo's approach and Trump's approach absolutely will attract those who want revenge. But there are people in the middle who don't like it and they won't vote for it, even if it is the right thing to do, even if it is the right policy, because they're like decorum matters. Now, you may disagree and you may say, no, that shouldn't be the case. That shouldn't be. Well, it is. You may say these women should not be voting for against Trump just because you think he's gross. But that's the way it is. You can tell me that you think things should be a certain way, and by all means, vote for that. But there's a couple things you need to do. Build culture to establish those ideas as dominant and win so you can affect those policies. That's why I look at DeSantis and lean towards him. I'm not saying he's the right choice 100% because I agree Trump is extremely charismatic. But I do think there's a strong opportunity moving forward with DeSantis 2024. It shall be determined in an open primary. DeSantis has the tact that can attract suburban women. And I'm not saying they're getting all hot and bothered. Ron, cut the carbs, start working out, get ripped, and then you'll win a lot more female votes. Pull the Trudeau card. How about that? Pander. I'm not a big fan of the idea, but I'm saying play up to what the people demand of you. Donald Trump's good for a lot of reasons. I can respect it. And there's one big reason I am worried about DeSantis: war. Milo made a good point. He said DeSantis will declare war on day one. Yeah. Donald Trump wouldn't. Where's DeSantis on foreign policy? I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 8 p.m. over at youtube.com/TimcastIRL. We will see you all there. Thanks for hanging out. And one last time, support our new song, Losing, at losingmymind.com. Can't believe I got that URL, to be completely honest. Listen to the song, put it on your playlists, blast those playlists, listen to the song all day, and watch the video on YouTube. Buying the song is the most powerful thing you can do. It's just 69 cents. And I would really appreciate your support because it would mean the world to me. And perhaps you would agree if on the Billboard Hot 100, there was a song. It would be awesome. It was in the top 10. A song about how the establishment media lies, cheats, and steals and forces into war, lockdowns while supporting major corporations. Wouldn't you just like to see that right there up top? I would. I'll leave it there. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you all next time.